Hey guys, this is another TvT in the Masters League between Halby, which is me, and CC Dev, which is some red dude. I asked him if I paid him $13 if he'd run to the dry cleaners and pick up my shirts, and he said depends on how far, and I said it's about 30 minutes. He said no, sorry, can't make it. I said it's alright, my dog usually gets it, but today he's licking his balls. And he said you should lick his balls while he gets the laundry, and I said I really should. You make a lot of sense, man. So I'm going to do Thors, because I'm a Thor doer. I'm a doer of Thors. I do Thors. And Thors are great against a lot of stuff, specifically factory units. And they're okay against Banshees, not terrible. And they're obviously awesome if your opponent makes Vikings or medevacs. And they're bad, terribly bad against Marauders and Marines, especially once those units get stim. Also, by one basing, you're always better off if your opponent two bases, because he's going to make a lot more, he's going to make that command center, he's going to make refineries, he's going to make more workers, he's going to do lots of stuff that's going to eat into his army size, and you're going to have a bigger army size when you push. Obviously, if he two bases for an hour, then you're not going to be better off. So this right here, this turret that I'm building, cost me the game, and we're going to see why. So the way I build my base, I always see this right here, how the supply depot is one unit off the edge of the command center. That means Marines and Marauders can squeeze through it, but Thors, tanks, and Hellions cannot. And this one the same way. So I can move my SCVs, Marines, and Marauders in and out of here to defend, and I can't move big things like Thors in and out of here. But if I lower this depot, obviously the Thor can fit in here to defend my workers. So usually in the beginning, the early stages of the game, I just sit back and wait for him to come with Banshees or Hellions, and then once the third Thor is out, or the blueflame Hellions or whatever mix I'm going for, then I go and push out. So it's great. You usually intercept a drop if a drop comes like this, and it does no damage and you stomp its face. But because of this turret, I can't get my Thor into my base. So I'm like, how do I get into my... I can't get into my base. How do I... What is going... Oh, and I lost 13 workers, so that sucked. Anyway, so that's the end of this game. There's more, and I will watch it. So... As with Stimumuma or any other one-base push, what you want to do is bring maybe 16 SCVs with your dudes, maybe 10, maybe whatever, and then leave like 24-ish at back home, so that when you make the next 4, you'll have 28 and you'll be maxed. So you want to keep mining and keep producing army and keep sending more dudes. But because I have no workers, I have to choose between either doing a Thor push with no workers, which is not very strong, or bringing workers and having no economy. And either way, I'm totally screwed. So really, there's no good way to come back from that initial losing 17, was it 17? 13 workers that quickly. Also, he just happens to have seen Thors and gone for Stim and Marauders. And Stim and Marauders are like the counter to Thors. Luckily, I believe he might not even get Stim. That's cool. But either way, spending at this point is even for both of us, but he's spent money only on Hellions that did a huge amount of damage, and Marauders that directly fought my Thors. If I had 10 SCVs here instead of, what is this? 7, I could probably heal through Marauders fighting on a ledge here, especially if you fight here against the Marauders on the ledge, only really 4 or 5 of them can hit your dudes. But also, psychologically, losing a whole crap ton of workers in the early game is pretty disheartening. So, this is the end, my friend. Yeah. So that didn't go so utterly terribly that there's no recovering, but the lack of workers is the real problem. I have 18 workers against his 33. He's got this command center finished, and whatever. So I'm going to apparently transition into Banshee Viking, because he's going primarily Marauder Hellion. But it's too late. My transition does catch his Marauders kind of off guard and do neat stuff, but he's like, I've got $1 million to spend on whatever I want. And then I ironically said so close, even though it was not at all close. He totally kicked my butt and did a wonderful job, and I just lost. So, as I've said a million times, when I lose, it's usually just stupid shit, and in this case, I lost to building a turret in the wrong place and not having my Thor ready, standing where he needed to be. He was counting on being able to walk there, and like, you know, I should have just had a Thor in my minerals instead of leaving him here and worrying about getting into the minerals in the middle of a Hellion drop. Yeah, and And then I ended up with an awful lot of buildings that I didn't need that many buildings at all. And I don't know that I really even needed turrets in general. I did this thing where you fortress defense so that it's impossible to get into your worker line. And then you put turrets within the edge range of, so that there's 2 turrets covering everywhere that you can land stuff. But I put 1 turret here and 1 turret here, and then he just landed right here, out of range of that turret. So the turret, the whole point of the turret is to keep him out of the fortress. And it didn't do its job. I should have put the turret here instead of the supply depot, and that would have worked a lot better. But the turret isn't supposed to prevent the Hellions from landing. It's just supposed to kill the medevac when the Hellions land. So he's going to decide whether it's worth it to suicide a medevac and suicide the Hellions, because now they're stuck in with your workers too, and there's a Thor in there, and they're gonna die. So he loses all the Hellions and the medevac and gets maybe 1 or 2 shots off, and probably kills 2 or 4 SCVs. So that's the idea of what I was doing. I knew Hellions were coming. That's how I wanted it to go, and it just didn't go that way.